With all the horror movies I've seen over the course of my life, there's still nothing that beats the reaction I had to the first one I ever watched, and that was Jaws. I know it's become very popular for people to say that Jaws isn't really a horror movie, and if you're one of those people, I hate to be the one to break it to you, but you're wrong. Jaws is very much a horror movie, and part of what makes it so scary is that you barely see the shark until the second half of the movie, which wasn't always supposed to be the case, but the mechanical shark didn't work most of the time, and even though there are some behind the scenes shots of deleted scenes that look like they would have been super creepy if they stayed in the movie, part of me prefers what's in the final film because the whole less is more approach feels scarier to me. Most of the time, people's imaginations can create scarier scenes than what ends up in the movie itself, so it's not a bad idea to deprive people of being able to actually see the shark attack its victims, not to mention that it's a much scarier situation to be in. I mean, just imagine going swimming completely unaware that you're about to get eaten by a shark. There's a reason I don't swim at the beach anymore, it's because this dang movie traumatized me with that stuff. Another aspect of the film that gives me chills is the music. Of course, everyone knows the main theme, even if you haven't seen the movie, it's been parodied and copied more times than anyone can count, but the variations of that theme throughout the movie are creepy enough on their own just listening to the soundtrack. For example, the music playing during the first attack freaks me out more than the scene itself. I know I said in my last episode that Dracula was better without music, but Jaws on the other hand largely benefits from John Williams' score in my opinion. It gives the movie a larger-than-life feeling, especially in the second half. The only instance where it benefits from silence is Quint's death scene at the end, because the fact that it feels more real without any background music makes it a little scarier. Now let's talk about the cinematography, because the camera work is phenomenal in this movie. I love the shots from the shark's perspective right before the people get attacked. The dolly zoom is a popular example that my film professors always like to use in their classes, and I really like some of the shots on the orca because even if the camera is stationary, the fact that the boat's moving makes it feel like the camera's also in motion in a way. I don't know, I just think it looks cool. On another note, if you want some fun facts, outside of the plot, there are also a couple self-referential qualities to the movie, like Peter Benchley, the author of the book that the movie was based on. He makes a cameo as a news reporter when the beach reopens. Steven Spielberg himself played the clarinet in a recording for a local band in the background of one shot, and the mechanical shark was nicknamed Bruce by the crew, and that was a nod to Steven Spielberg's lawyer, whose name was Bruce Raymer. So if you're into little details like that, that's just scratching the surface. There's a lot with this movie. Also, the characters themselves are just very entertaining. You really get a sense of how small the town of Amity Island is, and with the character of the mayor, the movie does a really good job of showing how politicians are more concerned with their pockets and the welfare of their city than its actual citizens. And then we have Martin Brody, the police chief played by Roy Scheider, who seems to be the only one in a position of authority that actually wants to keep people safe. But unfortunately, his superiors aren't about that life, and it's not until it's too late that they decide to listen to him. Also, the other supporting male protagonists really steal the show too. First, there's Matt Hooper, the oceanographer played by Richard Dreyfuss, who's your typical smart, rich guy who's not afraid to act like it. And then there's Quint, the hypermasculine, working-class shark hunter and war vet who doesn't take too kindly to people like Hooper. So to see them come together with Brody in the second half of the film is super amusing because their energies don't mix very well at first, but the longer they spend on the orca and lose their minds together, the closer they become. Now, it's no secret how big of a success Jaws was when it first came out. It's widely known as the first summer blockbuster, grossing over $472 million at the box office at the time, so it's no surprise that it's also a contributor to the Hollywood phenomenon of inferior sequels. I mean, when a movie makes that much money, you have to do another one, right? Well, instead of one sequel, Jaws had 3, increasingly getting worse with each installment, I might add. Jaws 2 was a good attempt. Overall, I think it had a similar tone to the first one, and it had a couple scary moments of its own, but then Jaws 3 was just absurdly bad, and don't even get me started on Jaws 4. I mean, these last two movies are just unforgivable. The only sequel to a great film that's worse than these two is that atrocity they tried calling a follow-up to The Exorcist, but that's another rant for another video. Back to Jaws, there's nothing that'll top the first one, and regardless of the sequels and how bad they may be, the legacy of the original can't be matched. I still remember the first time I saw Jaws. I was 7 years old, and the only thing I knew about the movie is that there was a shark in it, which was enough for me to want to see it. I had protective parents, and they warned me that it was scary, and they called my bluff when I said I liked being scared and I could handle it, because one night they just sat me and my sister down and we all watched it together. And let me tell you something, I couldn't handle it. At all. There were a couple scenes where my parents made me close my eyes because of how young I was, and I honestly think that made the experience even scarier for me. I was too young to really care about the exposition or to pay attention to the characters or the plot, so I was only focused on the shark, and the whole time I'm getting scared out of my mind because I can't see the bastard, but I know it's somewhere in the water. I'm not kidding you when I tell you I couldn't sleep that night because I had too many nightmares about getting chased and attacked by a shark, which was never a fear of mine until then. I loved animals and I always read about whales and snakes and sharks, but this movie scared me out of my wits and it threw everything I thought I knew about sharks beforehand right out the window. I've lived near the coast all my life, so I love the beach and looking at the town of Amity Island because it reminds me of the beach towns and tourist cities near my hometown, but I still refuse to go swimming at the beach. I don't even like going in the pool in the backyard if nobody else is outside. That's how much this movie scared me. But as scared as I was, I still had a sense of interest in the movie because there were just certain scenes that were ingrained in my mind, so I wanted to watch it again. And again. And again. Now, it's one of my favorite movies. I watch it every summer, especially on the 4th of July, and even though I might have been a little too young to watch it when I did, I'm glad it happened that way because it taught me how to deal with being scared by movies at such a young age, and it's the film that turned me into the horror fan that I am today. So with that, that's everything I've got for this video. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed it and want to see more videos like this. Let me know in the comments what your first horror movie was and how your experience played out. Check out my Substack page where I write more about horror movies and rock music, my two favorite things. And follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DeadNoiseBlog for even more memes from me. Stay tuned, stay scared, and I'll talk to you in the next video.